Do you ever get that feeling of dread when you can't stop thinking about something that's going to happen in the future? That's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. It's called anticipatory anxiety, and we're going to talk about the signs of anticipatory anxiety along with how to stop it in its tracks. Welcome to Calmly Coping. I'm your host, Tati Garcia. I'm a licensed therapist and a high-functioning anxiety coach. Calmly Coping is the podcast for people who struggle with anxiety and high-functioning anxiety. Each Wednesday, you'll hear informative episodes with actionable tips about decreasing anxiety, adopting a healthy mindset, and managing your time and energy so you can live a calm and balanced life. Let's get started. This is episode number 38, Why Your Anticipation Creates More Anxiety and How to Stop. Welcome back, and welcome if you're a first-time listener. Thank you so much for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to talk about the signs of anticipatory anxiety. Hopefully, I'll be able to say that because it's a hard word to say. Why you struggle with overthinking things before they even happen, and 5 tips to help you cope with anticipatory anxiety. Have you ever heard of the Sunday scaries? Maybe you've experienced that stress and anxiety that occurs on a Sunday night. You still have a few hours left to relax and prepare for the week ahead, but you feel stressed and rushed thinking about everything you have to do when you return. And that feeling of overwhelm the second you open your email inbox and see what's piled up since you haven't checked. This feeling can be referred to as anticipatory anxiety. It's that feeling of dread and anxiety when you have something stressful coming up and you just can't stop thinking about it. Or maybe it's just sitting there in the back of your mind somewhere, and no matter how much you don't want to think about it, it's still somewhere on your mind. So whether it's dreading or fearing Monday morning, a stressful social event, even a virtual one nowadays, a panic attack, or an interview, the feeling sucks. And sometimes it can cloud your entire day, and sometimes even days or weeks before the actual event has occurred. The anxiety of anticipating an event can be experienced as a dull, long-term feeling or an intense, short-term experience or any degree in between, and each and every person's experience is going to be different. So here are some common symptoms you might have. Overthinking or rumination, difficulty focusing, maybe panic attacks if you have more severe anxiety, increased tension in your body, you might feel irritable. You might lack motivation to do things. Maybe you feel frustrated or a lack of control and apprehension about what's going to happen. You might have shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, increased heart rate, or you might have difficulty sleeping or maybe be sleeping too much. And these are just examples of some things that you might be experiencing. So these symptoms can influence how you interact with other people around you, your performance and how you're doing, like, let's say at work or in school or your personal life and more. So it can help to pay attention to what signs and symptoms you may personally have and how that might vary from your typical mood or your typical anxiety symptoms. And as usual, it's important to contact a mental health professional if you feel like you need professional guidance or advice. So anticipatory anxiety in and of itself, it's not a specific diagnosis, but it can be a symptom of other anxiety disorders, and it can also just be a normal experience that occurs before particularly stressful events. Often the sensation of anxiety occurs when there's some level of unpredictability regarding the events to come. So the overthinking that occurs can give you that sense of control because you feel as though you are rehearsing for events or maybe planning for every possible scenario so that you're not surprised. But the reality is that this overthinking doesn't help, and it only causes you to become more anxious and overwhelmed because you're continually focusing on this unpredictable moment in the future. And anticipatory anxiety can also occur when you feel like you just don't have enough time. Maybe you're feeling rushed to prepare everything for the week ahead on a Sunday night, or you just want to find some time to finally relax. Anxiety can be a result of feeling as though you don't have enough time because this is a form of projecting yourself into the future. So when you're constantly thinking about a moment in the future, then you're not focusing on the present. And when you're not focusing on the present, then it always seems like there's never enough time. And anticipatory anxiety can also occur when you're expecting the worst in a situation. So a lot of the times events can be a lot worse in your mind than in reality. And often the anticipation can actually be even worse than the experience itself. And so maybe if you have an interview coming up, that anticipation of what could happen, or if you're putting pressure on yourself, what if I don't get this job? This needs to turn out well. What if I'm so nervous that I mess up? That anticipation may actually feel worse and more uncomfortable than the actual interview itself, because maybe you show up there and in moments of stress, you actually perform well, or you may feel really anxious on the inside, but you still perform well. So this is a sign that, it's not necessarily the event, but it's your thoughts about the event and how you're feeling in anticipation of this event that's creating this suffering and this discomfort for you. Let's say something is happening in the future that you really are not looking forward to. Either way, anticipatory anxiety and overthinking the situation is not going to help you cope with it any better. It's just going to lead to more stress and anxiety. So I'm currently taking a meditation challenge with Sharon Salzberg. She's a meditation teacher, and she mentioned something that I found interesting, and I think you may be able to relate to if you struggle with this anxiety or overthinking. And so she said that restlessness, which may be something that you experience when your mind is always going all over the place or you're having trouble relaxing, is the flip side of drowsiness. A signal that our system is out of balance because of a tranquility deficit. And so I like the way that she put this, because I think that it can be helpful to think of this restlessness and this anxiety, this overthinking, this increase in energy and worrying as a sign that maybe you need more relaxation, and there's that deficit in that time for your body as well as your mind to really relax and rest. So we're going to take a quick break here to talk about my free course that is a sponsor of this episode, and then I'm going to get into the tips and things that you can do differently in order to cope with your anticipatory anxiety. If you're a high achiever who struggles with putting way too much pressure on yourself, you have difficulty disconnecting, and you feel like you can never fully relax, then you'll want to enroll in my free 3-day course, How to Calm Your Mind So You Can Finally Relax. In this free course, I walk you through getting to the root of what's preventing you from fully relaxing, learning my Relax framework to help you identify the best ways to relax and recharge, and how you can relax intentionally so that you set yourself up for long-term success. You can enroll in this free course by going to calmlycoping.com/relax or by clicking on the link in the show notes. Tip number 1 is to think about things differently. So this is to challenge your way of thinking. So if you're having thoughts about how things are going to go wrong, or maybe how much you don't want to do something, like if it's Sunday night and you're like, man, I really don't want to go to work tomorrow, challenge whether or not these thoughts are either factual or helpful. So when it comes to going on an interview, and let's say you're qualified for the job, is it factual that you're going to bomb things, that you're going to do really poorly? Or is this just an exaggeration based on your fear? When it comes to challenging whether or not your thoughts are helpful, maybe your current thought is, I really don't want to go to work on Monday. So by challenging that, you're asking yourself, is this a helpful thought? I've made a conscious choice to continue working because having a steady income and stability is important to me. So I'm going to do my best to face and accept the choices I have made, or to make changes if I cannot. Now, it's not always easy to think that way in the moment, but the most important thing is to catch yourself in those moments of overthinking and thinking negatively or thinking of the worst, and anytime you catch yourself is a success and a win and an opportunity for you to change your way of thinking. Changing your perception can help to lessen anticipatory anxiety so that you can look at things more realistically and objectively. Tip number 2 is relaxation techniques. So focusing on relaxing your body can help to lessen anxious thoughts. So anxiety occurs when your sympathetic nervous system is activated. And so this is the nervous system that is responsible for the state of fight or flight in your body. And this ultimately means that your body is preparing to either fight or to run away from a situation. So your body's physically preparing for danger. And so this means that there's a lot of things that are occurring: increased heart rate, difficulty breathing, some of those symptoms I mentioned earlier, that increased tension in your body, that are going to make you feel more anxious. So it's going to perpetuate that feeling of anxiety and stress and overthinking and overwhelm. So taking the time to calm down your body physically is going to reverse this response and help you to refocus in the present. So here are some suggestions for how you can focus on relaxing your body. So you can take a few long, deep breaths all the way into your belly. So this is a tried and true technique that you always have your breath with you, and taking those deep breaths is going to help to calm your body and calm your mind. You can take a soothing bath or something that you find relaxing. Maybe do some stretching and stretch out those areas of your body that tend to get tense, especially if it's like your neck, your upper back, and try to consciously relax that tension. Or you can do a technique that's called progressive muscle relaxation. And so this is the progressive tensing and then relaxing areas of your body to invite that softening in your muscles. And this is something that you can look up on like Google or YouTube to learn more about. Tip number 3 is to prepare as much as you can. So this anticipatory anxiety can become worse if you've done nothing to prepare for a potentially nerve-wracking event. Some examples could include an exam, a driver's test, an interview, or an important meeting or presentation. So to minimize that worry and anxiety, do as much as you can to prepare. So this can include studying, printing out copies of your resume, and like a cheat sheet of questions to ask the interviewer, bullet points for a meeting, or whatever. So prepare as much as you can, but don't over prepare, because then when you're over preparing, then it's way beyond how much you need to do in order to do well. And then you're just creating more stress, and it's turning into more of a perfectionistic approach to, it's never going to be good enough. So be sure to catch yourself if you find yourself getting into that frame of mind. But if, it's just doing enough to prepare and taking these steps in advance and not at the last minute, that can help to reduce that stress and that anxiety that you might feel in the moments leading up to the event. And you can catch yourself if you're feeling anxious and kind of remind yourself, well, I did everything that I can to prepare. And it can help you confirm that thought that you did do everything you could do to prepare. So tip number 4 is to focus on the present moment. Mindfulness is the practice of being aware in the present moment, and being mindful can help you from thinking and stressing about future events. Mindfulness can take focus and requires intentionality. And here are a few ways that you can practice mindfulness. So you can meditate using a guided meditation or by just setting a timer for a few minutes. You can engage in an activity mindfully. So engage and focus on your 5 senses to be aware of your body and your experiences in the present. Or you can engage in any activity that you enjoy and focus on that moment and how you presently feel. So do something that you're going to feel immersed in. So maybe it's playing an instrument, going for a walk, spending time with a friend, whatever it is that helps you to feel engaged in the moment and is going to take your mind off of overthinking and feeling anxious about this event coming up in the future. Tip number 5 is to set aside time to worry. So this might sound a little weird, but try to intentionally set aside time to worry if you just really can't stop. So this could involve setting an alarm for a specific time or choosing a time during the day where you think about your worries, journal them, or vent to a friend, whatever you prefer. Give yourself a set amount of time, so maybe it's like 5 to 10 minutes, and then tell yourself that this is the only time you're going to spend worrying about this topic. Of course, it may come up at other times during the day, but this can just give you an opportunity to get things out, and then when that worrying does come up during the day, you can catch yourself and then say, I already spent my time worrying about this. Because the reality is that worrying does not help you accomplish your goals or get you any further in life. It only results in you feeling worse and halting your progress. So this will allow you time to acknowledge the thoughts going through your head and then practice letting go of them. The only constant in life is change. While you're anxious and worrying about an event that is about to occur, it's going to come and go. Be kind to yourself and remind yourself that you've made it through plenty of things that you didn't think would be easy, and you can absolutely do it again. Your action tip is to practice these tips next time you experience anticipatory anxiety, such as like the Sunday scaries, and challenge your way of thinking. Practice relaxation techniques, prepare as much as you can, focus on the present, or set aside time to worry. So put this into action and let me know how it helps. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can DM me on Instagram at TatianaGLPC or email me at tati@becalmwithtati.com and let me know. And if you found this podcast episode informative, then please leave me a review on iTunes letting me know your thoughts. It really helps me out. While you wait for next week's episode, I have other episodes about decreasing anxiety, adopting a healthy mindset, and managing your time and energy. Thanks for tuning in today, and until next time, be calm. P.S. Recording this episode required a huge amount of patience because there was a truck in the distance constantly beeping throughout. So hopefully that didn't interfere with the recording. Thanks so much for listening. If you like what you heard, please share this episode with a friend, and please subscribe and leave me a review on iTunes. Also, remember to check me out online at calmlycoping.com and connect with me on Instagram at TatianaGLPC. All content here is for informational purposes only. This content does not replace the professional judgment of your own mental health provider. Please consult a licensed mental health professional for all individual questions and issues. Till next time, I'm Tati, and this has been Calmly Coping.